You know, another issue that the majority of Americans agree on, Joe, has to do with witnesses in the current impeachment proceedings. 75% of Americans in the latest Q poll say they want witnesses. That's consistent with just about every other poll that we have seen. Overwhelming majority of Americans say, you know what, we want the facts. Let's be transparent and let's figure out what happened from people like John Bolton who were there.
Yeah, well, Joe, here's the thing. And I've said this. I thought both the defense and the prosecution, which is the House managers and the President's Defense Counsel, they've both done admirable jobs. They presented their cases well. They were well prepared. They delivered them succinctly. We sat there and we listened to it and gave you a lot of thought back and forth. And the accusation kept coming back that the House did not do its due diligence. And now all of a sudden, one of my questions is going to be, if you all have been so eloquent in saying the House did not do and go through the due process of subpoenas and getting witnesses and on, even though with Don McGahn and the amount of time it's taken, they didn't go through the process. And now the House, the defense is asking us as a Senate that we should hurry it up now. Don't do it. Don't call witnesses. We have an obligation and a responsibility to have a thorough trial. How do you have a trial, Joe, without witnesses and evidence that would be to the charges that are brought against the President of the United States? And he said that he wanted witnesses to clear his name. He ought to have the right to have a fair trial in the Senate, and that's what we're trying to do.
Hey, Senator, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you as always.
Hi, Willie.
75% of the country agrees with what you just said. They want to see witnesses in this trial. Doesn't mean they want to vote to convict the president, but they want to hear all the evidence, which I think is your position as well. John Cornyn just talked to Bob Costa a couple minutes ago and said, my sense is that we will get to the place where we will not have witnesses. He talking to Mitch McConnell behind the scenes. Is that your sense, too? It would only take four Republicans to switch over and vote with Democrats to allow witnesses. What's your sense of where the whip count is right now?
Hey, Willie, depends on what part of the day. 2 days ago, the morning that John Bolton's transcript came out, and then things kind of got a lot of chatter. You know, we hear chatter all the time, the same as you all hear chatter. I thought things were moving in the right direction. I always thought we had at least 3, and the possibility of getting 2 or more. That would have been 5 or more. I always felt that was very doable. And I thought we were right on track. I said, that makes sense. I don't know how anybody goes home and says, I just thought I heard enough. Well, wait a minute. The most important thing we've ever done as a public official, and Joe will tell you this, nothing rises to the level of, should we remove a president? And nobody wants to be in that position. And let me just say this. I cannot believe the hypocrisy. And when I say hypocrisy, I mean on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. You heard the closing arguments from the defense. The closing was showing the clips 20 years ago from the prosecution or from the House managers of what position they took 20 years ago and where they are today. You heard Dershowitz. You heard basically Starr. You've heard Chuck Schumer, and you've heard Mitch McConnell. People were confused. Did they think that the brilliance of our framers over 230 years ago left that much wiggle room in that you could change your position every 10 or 20 years? People, they're confused. This is tough. But the bottom line is we cannot leave this place and allow our foreign policy to be basically transmitted to our allies by a rogue proxy such as Rudy Giuliani or anybody else. On behalf of the president or on behalf of me as a senator or anybody, we've got to stop some things that just are wrong, and we can fix a lot of things out of this process.
So what's your view, Senator, of the idea that's been floated out there in some circles in the Senate by Republicans of a one-for-one trade for witnesses? A lot of Democrats say that's a sucker's deal. In other words, we'll give you John Bolton if we get Hunter Biden. Democrats would say Hunter Biden's not a relevant witness here. I think Adam Schiff said this is not a fantasy football draft. We're not going back and forth with witnesses. We want to talk to relevant witnesses. Would you be open to that one-for-one kind of deal?
Let me just say, Willie, that I would believe, I've never been a juror. I've never been on jury duty, never been called in my life on jury duty. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the most prestigious juror in the world. And on that, I said, well, someone's got to be a referee here. So there's only one person I definitely think there has to be witnesses. Now, who those witnesses are, I would say had to be pertinent to the charges brought against the president.
Right.
Anybody that has pertinent information has to be considered as a witness. And if it gets out of hand, who's calling what, who's playing politics, who's doing it constitutionally, then there has to be somebody. There's only one John Roberts, the Chief Justice, and they voted that down. We should vote again if we come to an impasse because they want to play political games and not looking at what's relevant to the case. But, you know, Willie, I think someone has to ask the question, is this a constitutional trial or a political trial?
Is Hunter Biden a relevant witness, Senator?
You know, I think so. I really do. I don't have a problem there because this is why we are where we are. Now, I think that he could clear himself, what I know and what I've heard, but being afraid to put anybody that might have pertinent information is wrong, no matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. And not go home and say, well, I protected one, I was afraid. No, if it's relevant, then it should be there.
Casey Hunt has a question for you, Senator. Casey?
Yeah, I know, Casey.
I tried to catch you yesterday.
Mama, this is Mama Casey.
It's nice to see you, sir. I just
too.
follow up on Willie's question. If, in fact, we get to the point where witnesses are being allowed, would you vote to call Hunter Biden as a witness?
If the judge or whoever rules that it's pertinent, absolutely. I want witnesses. I want people to tell me what you know. You're asking me to make the most important decision I've ever made in the political arena that I'm in or as an individual, and I want to hear everything I can. I want to make sure that the decision I make is the right decision.
Has Chuck Schumer gotten you on the phone yet to talk to you about what you just told us? Because
Chuck and I haven't.
I mean, that's not the line necessarily.
Oh, I'm sure. You know me. I'm West Virginia. I'm Joe from West Virginia. It doesn't. And Chuck's my friend. These all. You know, I can get along with everybody. All the Republicans. I don't have anybody I don't like, and I try to work with all of them. But by golly, I've got to go home and look West Virginia in the eye and say, hey, this is why I did it. If I don't have an answer, and if I can't explain it, I can't vote for it. And I have no problem at all.
Senator, quickly, are you thinking about splitting these impeachment articles and potentially voting to acquit the president on the obstruction of Congress charge?
I have not made a decision. I take my oath serious about impartiality. I have not made a decision yet. I'm still looking. I think these questions these 2 days, I have a question. I want to ask somebody, have you ever been in a trial when you weren't able to call witnesses? That's just one simple question I want to ask. There's pertinent evidence in that. So until I see these 2 days here, 8 hours today, 8 hours tomorrow, I'll be closer to the decision then.
All right, Senator Joe Manchin from the great state of West Virginia. Thank you so much for being with us.
Say hi to your
brother for us.
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you so much, Brother Nick and Brother Nick. Brother Saban.
Brother Nick. Exactly. All right. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Let's bring her. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.